It is Friday already. I cannot believe how quickly these weeks are going by. You know, when we first were hit with COVID and the entire world changed what seemed like overnight, it was hard to believe that we would still be in a position of being secluded and slowly going back to whatever the new normal will be. But we're still here every day at 11:30 on the Creative Hive Facebook page. And we're really lucky to welcome Kaylor here today with the Mental Wealth Project. And this is a project that is about bringing people together. This is about using your voice. This is about believing in who you are and using your superpowers, regardless of what you may believe may not be one of your superpowers, and turning that idea around and talking about things that can often make people uncomfortable. So welcome, Kaylor, to chatting with us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Des, you are a rock star with this introduction here. This is not your first. This is not your first time.
Well, I've been around the block a few times, let's just
I
say.
I thought I was like watching a news program or something. That was very good, very good.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here today. And
Of course.
you know, I want to get right into your video because I think that explains so much. But first and foremost, let people know who you are and what your project is. And then we'll dive a little deeper as we go through.
Sure. So my name is Kaylor Betts, and I'm 31 years old, and I'm from originally Edmonton, grew up in Edmonton, born and raised. And yeah, I mean, just to give you kind of the cliff notes of my story and the Mental Wealth Project, I am someone who really, really struggled growing up, from as early back as I can remember, with mental health challenges before I even knew what mental health challenges were. And that sparked a lot of pain that I dealt with growing up and not really knowing what it was. So that was extra frustrating and extra painful. And, fast forward, and I'm sure we'll get maybe more into the details of the story, but fast forward all the way to, I think it was about 8 months ago. I started as a coach 12 years ago. So I've been in the wellness space for a long time. But yeah, 8 months ago, I decided to start a passion project that, and I had an aha moment. I was sitting on my couch one day and I thought, oh, why don't I just come out and be honest about the pain that I'm going through? Maybe that's part of the problem, is that I can't go out and talk about how I've been through all this and I still deal with these things. And yeah, so I decided to, and then shortly after that, it was an aha moment, very excited, lit my soul on fire. And then shortly after came up with the Mental Wealth Project idea. And then I'm all about diving in. And, I came up with a plan, made a video, launched video, and launched it, built a team. There's a team of 6 of us, I think. And yeah, we work together every single week. Now, the Mental Wealth Project, it's pivoted a little bit since our inception. We've narrowed our focus into, really, to give you it in a summary, is to build community in the online world. Our goal is to be the largest online community in the mental health space. But now we've really narrowed our focus to normalizing the conversation, because that's where we feel we can make the most impact and what we think is really, really important.
And you can't normalize a conversation if you're not willing to be a part of that conversation, right? And that's exactly what you did. And anybody who hasn't seen, I did post it earlier on the Creative Hive page, but I want to show people just a snippet of it now, and we'll post it again afterwards so people can see that. So I'm going to do my very fancy sharing of screen, because that's the only way I know how to do this. So
Yeah, let's do it.
And we'll bring this up. And there we go.
Oh, I don't know if I can hear it, Des.
I can hear it. I wonder.
Oh, maybe then it probably is working. Sorry.
going to pause it there because I think that gives people a really good idea.
And
Oh,
it has a happy ending. So if you haven't seen the
it,
video, keep watching. It's a little doom and gloom in the beginning, but yeah, for sure.
it does have a happy ending, but it also is so vulnerable right from the beginning. You laid it all out there. So when you decided to do this, you decided no holds bar.
Yeah, just like what you said, Des, if our goal is going to be normalizing the conversation, the only way to do it is to have the conversation. And, we have to have some people who are willing to be courageous enough to step up and say, you know what? Yeah, I do. I consider myself a high performer. I consider myself someone who's very capable and someone that should be trusted, someone that can, you know, achieve what I want to achieve. But we need to be able to be courageous enough to say, but you know what, sometimes I struggle, and I think that's normal, and that's how we're going to normalize the conversation. So yeah, I knew that it would make an impact, and I just knew, Des, that when I put out the video, I knew that there'd be so many people who are just like me, who haven't decided to come out and share. After all, it took me forever, and I just had this aha moment. And I knew there'd be a lot of people, and you wouldn't believe, Des, when I put that video out, it took me, honestly, I think even after a week, and I'm on my phone a lot, full disclosure, but it took me about a week to answer all of the messages that I got of people just saying, holy, I've experienced the same thing that resonated with me so deeply. I've never told anyone. My parents don't know, this and that. So
That's the power of story, and especially when it's truthful and heartfelt and it's done for a bigger mission in this. And let's rewind a little bit. For you, when did you, or how and when did you start feeling, anxiety and depression, and how did that come into your life? Because outwardly an athlete, popular, funny, class clown, all of those things, outwardly it shouldn't have been.
yeah, literally from as early back as I can remember, like, and I remember not really knowing what it is, and I don't even really know what I thought. I think I did think I was different, but there was also aspects that I just thought that, oh, I think kind of this is just normal, like everyone kind of goes through it. But I even remember, like, and this is me getting really vulnerable. I get embarrassed to say this, but hey, if I want to have this as my mission, I have to be really honest. But I even remember, and this is just a small example, you know being like just worrying excessively. And there would be times where my mom would be at work. I was probably maybe 10 years old, 12. And I remember, my mom even being at work and just worrying about her not coming home and dying and something happening to her, and being so anxious that I had no appetite and I couldn't sleep. And, at that age, you just don't know what it is. You don't ever think that, oh, maybe this is a condition that I need to work on. You just think it's part of you. So I just worried a lot. Um, they talk about depression and how the symptoms are, some of the symptoms of depression are just like, you don't enjoy doing the things you normally do, or, things can kind of look a little grayish and not vibrant, and you're just low energy. I just lived that way my whole life. And then the symptoms of being moody and snappy and not happy and crying a lot. I was very emotional, all those symptoms I had. And again, I just thought it was maybe part of me. So my journey goes back a long ways, to literally as early as I can remember.
How hard was it on you to hide that huge portion that made you up from so many people?
Yeah, it wasn't hard when I was young, because I was very transparent. I wore my heart on my sleeve and I didn't really hide it, and this is interesting because as when we're kids, we don't really care what other people think. We're just our authentic selves. And then we get socially conditioned to, like, oh, you can't show those emotions. And this is why it's so important that we need to teach our kids that, like, it's okay to, have anxiety and depression and feel these emotions. But it only became harder as, again, I was more socially conditioned to, oh, guys, especially guys, girls too, but especially guys, you got to be the tough person, especially the athlete, the jock. So I found coping mechanisms, and, I started to hide it. And yeah, it was really, really difficult because I always felt like an imposter. They talk about imposter syndrome. Like it really gave me imposter syndrome from an early age. Like I was, I'll call a spade a spade. I was a popular athlete, jock. Like I was the one that was supposed to have it all figured out. And
You're the perfect picture of what should be.
yes, but inside, that identity and the internal identity was so polarized and so not matched that it made me feel imposter syndrome. I literally walked through, and for those that don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's you just feel like a phony, and I just felt like a phony. And I'll be honest, Des, like up until only the last few years of my life, and I still deal with imposter syndrome, but even up until the last few years, I've always dealt with imposter syndrome that way until I came out and said, hey, and then people, not in an unhealthy way, it certainly could be, but people validated to me that like, it's okay. I deal with that too. And people who you would have never imagined would have mental health challenges, people that are high performers, high achievers, successful. So that really helped.
It puts the idea on it that it can be anyone. And I think that's what's so powerful with people who appear to have it all together, that are successful in what they do. I mean, you were a coach, you were helping people, yet helping yourself was not an easy thing to do. What did you do to help mask it? Because I want anybody watching to know that maybe they're doing something to mask the feelings that they're having, and they say, well, he would never have done those things. So what did you do to mask that and to kind of get through life to keep that image alive?
Yeah, I seeked pleasure a lot. That was one of my coping mechanisms. So it might have been food, which is probably why I'm like so adamant about food and so into nutrition. And that's why it was, that's why I became to be that, was because, I used to use it as a coping mechanism. Alcohol, drugs, sex, rock and roll, like, everything. It just was anything that was pleasurable. Because I thought that it would make me feel whole. There was a void that was missing. And that's I think what I would say to people who are maybe wondering, are they using any coping mechanisms or what are they doing to hide it, is, number one, ask yourself, do the people around you truly know if you do have mental health challenges or a mental illness or something? Do the people around you not only know what you struggle with and how you struggle with it, but do they know how to help you with it? Do they know how to communicate to you properly? Because people with mental health challenges, the people around you need to know that you're a little bit different and you need to be, sometimes you're not going to be perfect, and stuff like that. So that would be one, is do the people around you really truly know? Have you been fully authentic with them? And are you doing things to mask the pain? And once I, again, came out and I just said, like, hey, I have these mental health challenges, and people validated that it's okay, they don't think less of me. In many cases, they actually thought higher of me. It made me feel like, man, I don't need to have this be so painful. So then I didn't look to mask things as much.
And then you could become who you are meant to be, which led you to the Mental Wealth Project. So that aha moment, when you had that aha moment, you knew what you were going to do, taking those steps, and you started to say what you said in the video, started to talk about who you actually are. What did you feel? What came over you as you did that and you put it out there before you got the reactions?
It was okay. Great that you clarified that, because even, and this is such an important point, Des, is even before I got the reactions, because I that's a really important point, because one thing I do worry about, and I even have to keep myself in check with this, is I don't want to put a crown on mental health challenges. We don't want to necessarily we don't want to flip the script to now it's put on a pedestal and now people are using mental health challenges to become, glorified and put on a pedestal. So even before the reactions, I felt liberated, just knowing that, like, I was in that moment fully committing to just being open and radically authentic about what I go through. And that's a key point, because and this might be a little bit controversial, but I really do also think we need to be careful that we don't glorify mental health to the point that now everyone is like feeling like they can just say that they can't come into work because they're feeling a little sad. Or, I like a little bit of the tough love too, because that really resonated with me. But there's a balance, and I love how you clarified that. And I think it really it was liberating to just be like, I'm fully committing to now just being openly and radically authentic. It didn't matter about, yes, it helped to be validated, but it shouldn't matter what people say, or because then some people are going to get hate. There's going to be skeptics and people that don't understand. So it shouldn't matter whether people say they love you or hate you for it. It's more so about bathe in the freedom and the great, amazing feeling of just being able to just be radically, authentically you. That's where the power is. Whether people hate you or love you, that's where the power is. And that's what I felt.
It's a powerful, it's interesting to hear you say it that way, because that's exactly it. It wasn't about the likes. It wasn't about the comments, but those reactions, subsequent reactions, gave you the platform to help others. And that's what you wanted. So you put it all out there for yourself. You felt liberated. And then when you got the reactions, did you instantly know you could help? I mean, that idea that, the hope you have is that if you share this, that maybe you could help others, because that's where your heart was for the mental health project. So to know you had that platform to start helping, how did that make you feel? And what did you do with that?
Yeah. So, and I want to add one thing from what I just talked about too, is that I think it's important people realize that it is a choice. It's one of the most difficult choices you'll ever make, but it's a decision to, and that's what it was for me. And maybe it's not for everyone, but for me, it was a decision. And I think for a lot of people, it is to just decide that I'm no longer going to keep this inside. And again, it's one of the hardest decisions you ever make. But I was blown away at how easy it was to just decide, because a lot of people, I think, are living with the fact that they don't even think it's an option. Right. I thought for many, many years, I'm like, I can't come out and say this. I'll never be a successful business owner again. No one will ever take me seriously. I'll always be looked at as a liability. When again, realize that like it's a decision. And I hope that, I think where I've always known I can help in the mental health space, because I started a personal development journey when I saw Tony Robbins tapes in my dad's vehicle, probably about 12 years ago, or no, even longer ago, but this is probably about 15 years ago. I found Tony Robbins tapes in my dad's car and popped them in, and I think it was Awake the Giant Within or something, and I listened to it and I got obsessed with personal growth. So my journey has happened over many years. I've been incrementally just getting better and better and better, because I've put in a lot of personal growth investment of time. And my journey, so I've known for a long time, as I've gotten better and better, I've known that like I'm going to continue to teach people how to do this after I go out and learn the hard way. But where I really knew that I was able to help and make a big impact in the mental health space is, again, that moment when I was like, I'm going to decide to come out. And I'm a guy that's always put myself out there. I had a gym for 5 years. I have certainly not where I want to be, but I have some followers. I have some influence. I have some people that do care about what I say. And I knew in that moment that when I decided to have the courage to say that someone who is supposed to have it all figured out, suffer from these mental health challenges, I knew that it would inspire other people to do the same. So that's when I knew.
You got that reaction. You did inspire other people to do the same. And I think the more we can talk about it, I know that there has to also be action and stuff as well, but the more we can start the conversation and start normalizing what it is, the more people will start to just be comfortable with who they are. I mean, there has been mental health issues in my family for a number of years. And I always thought, well, that's crazy. That's not me. And then I found myself in a situation that I didn't think I would be in, and had to admit that I needed some help and needed to talk about it, and needed it when I looked at a 5-year-old little girl with big blue eyes and she's crying and I'm getting mad because she said hello. I was like, okay, something needs to change. But I didn't want to admit it because I had seen really, different levels of depression in family members. And I was like, well, I don't have that. I don't want to but there's varying levels of it. And what you've done is started that conversation, and watching the videos of people participating with you and sharing that we are in this together. It shows how varied and how many people it does affect. Were you surprised? And what was your feelings when you started to see people believe that we are in this together?
Yeah, like, and I want to really hammer home a point here that, like, I just look at this as like I took the first step, and that's really what I want this to be, is I just kind of like took the lead a little bit. And immediately, and I have to give my team credit, because immediately after I launched the video, I had a lot of people reach out, and this is one thing I wasn't expecting, but I had a lot of people reach out and say, do you need help? I want to be a part of the project, whatever. And I had this group of people that I could choose from and select the people who had the mental health space as so near and dear to their heart, and the most talented individuals and the most passionate individuals that I could choose from to bring on board. And again, this team that I have is exceptional, and they're doing just as much of an impact, or they're having just as much of an impact on this project as I am. And it's going to continue to grow and grow. And all of these people, it's really cool because none of them have really been public about their mental health, and now they're starting to come out and do the same. So now they're taking the next lead, and then more and more people are going to just start. And I think I just look at it as like a domino effect, and building community, where one day we can just treat having an anxiety attack, let's say, just like how if we were to get the flu or break your ankle or something like that. And it feels really, really cool. I mean, I don't know, like, if I didn't have a passion project like this, something that evokes a deep sense of meaning and purpose out of me, I'd be so lost, Des. So I mean, it's kind of selfish in a way, a little bit, because it's very therapeutic for me. It's actually helping my mental health like crazy. And as much as it really inspires, it's like half and half. It really inspires me. I could almost cry thinking about if it when it has impacted someone's life in mental health and their mental health. And we've gotten some incredible messages about people who it's really inspired and really been helping them, what we've been doing. But again, I got a full disclosure admit, it's also very therapeutic for me. And that's what I want people to know as well too, is know that, like, one of the best medicines for mental health is to just be, again, radically authentic and just show the real you, whether you have mental health challenges, mental illness, whatever. And it's very, very much like medicine for our mental health.
Being yourself in any platform on any way is always the best answer for every question. Okay, so tell me, as we wrap this up, tell me what the Mental Wealth Project is, what you guys are doing, and how people can get involved.
Okay, so the Mental Wealth Project, to get really clear, has now pivoted and narrowed our focus to, we are building community online and we are normalizing the conversation. Now, how we're normalizing the conversation is we are creating conversations. Now, by creating conversations, that builds community and normalizes the conversation as well too. Again, the only way to normalize it is to have the conversation. Now, we do that through three different ways: through our social platforms. So we are on Instagram and Facebook. We're more active on Instagram, but you can check us out at Mental Wealth Project on both those platforms. We're very active on there. Then we have our podcast. I host the podcast. It's the Mental Wealth Podcast. It's on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, anywhere you can find podcasts. Maybe not anywhere, but most places. And and yeah, we're focused on, we have two different types of people on the podcast. Number one, people who have a profound story to share with mental health, a personal experience, and opening up, having that conversation, or an expert. So it might be a psychologist, a meditation teacher, a coach, whatever. And we're focusing now on really just having conversations, and just, it's like normal people, real conversations about mental health. And that's our podcast. And then the other thing we have too is the Mental Wealth Weekly. It's the newsletter that you can go to our website and subscribe to. You enter in your name and email and you'll be subscribed to the Mental Wealth Weekly. And what that is every Thursday you get a email in your inbox, and it is everything that as a team we've found for that week that might be beneficial for you on your journey towards mental wealth and improving your mental health. So this could be a TED Talk, a podcast, article, a new product that's great for mental wealth, a concept, whatever, anything and everything we think you need to know about your mental wealth journey. So yeah, those are what we're doing, and we're going to do other things. We're coming out with swag soon, so stay tuned for our swag and whatnot. But the best place is to find us on Facebook and Instagram, or our podcast. Just type in the Mental Wealth Project and it should show up.
What an exciting journey it must be for you as a coach as well, to now be able to take what you love doing even prior to this and melding it with your passion project. That, you know, they're very cohesive, aren't they?
Yeah, they're very congruent. The Mental Wealth Project is very much just a passion project for all of us. And we're a content hub. We push out content that we feel will spark conversations and build community and bring value to people who are interested in mental health. And then my coaching is, I mean, again, I've been doing it for a long time. My journey has been incredible for me. It lights me up. I have my clients that I work with, and I'm teaching them everything I learned the hard way to get to where I'm at. I still, you know, I'll always deal with different mental health challenges, but it's been very, very much a journey of just getting better and better and better and learning how to cope and deal with these things. And certainly one of the best medicines I've done is to open up and share and be radically authentic.
Thank you so much for spending the time and sharing with us today. I cannot wait to see what the Mental Wealth Project does in the future. I cannot wait to see what Kaylor does in the future, because I think there are big things coming, especially when you have a passion project like this. And I will, of course, include the link to this as well on our page so that people can watch the entire video, because I really, your story was incredible, but I also felt so much, it was so inspired by the end of the video, and you have people from around the world lending their voice, and that slogan, that tagline, "We are in this together," really wraps it all up. And so I encourage anybody who's watched this and that wants to know more about the Mental Wealth Project to start there and then to reach out to you. So thank you so much. And please, the next time you're in Edmonton, pop by the Creative Hive and we can have a longer conversation.
Thank you, Des. This is a great platform to come on and share our story, and we really, really appreciate it.
Have an awesome day. Safe travels wherever you go next.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.